The best argument I've ever heard against mass surveillance is that marijuana has become legal, right? Are you a fan of marijuana being legal, Mary?
No.
Well, so the reason why it became legal, despite the fact that it was illegal, is because the government couldn't stop people from doing it. They do it in secret. People then began to share it, bask in the glory they found, and then convinced more people to do it. Eventually, a critical mass of people were breaking the law and said, maybe this shouldn't be illegal, and then voted to get rid of it. But if you had a mass surveillance where anytime you tried to smoke, a knock on your door, you were on camera, the camera we put in all of your homes has proven you've broken the law, what ends up happening then is there is no flexibility in the law and in social order, meaning the only move you can make is towards more laws and more illegality until you can't do anything at all. So there's a lot of things that marijuana is probably an extreme example because a lot of people want it to be illegal. But there's other examples, like if we had mass surveillance, women would still be wearing, fully flocked outfits with 17 layers. Because the moment a woman dresses down and tries going outside, the camera catches you and then the cops come and find you. So think about mass surveillance in like Iran. If a woman tries taking off hijab, they're going to know instantly and they're going to swarm her and they're going to arrest her before it can change. Mm-hmm. So typically mass surveillance is because you need flexibility. There are some things that people will do that is against the law, but they tolerate. And then with that tolerance, our society can adapt and change. But again,
maybe if it were used to stop people from smoking weed, then I'd just be all for it.
Yeah, well, there you go. Because the argument is this. If we have mass surveillance and biometrics, we can get rid of all the illegal immigrants.
But then it goes towards that whole social credit score stuff that's going on in China, which I think that's really what people are afraid of.
You're going to go to a grocery store, it's going to scan your eye and then say you're banned, whereas you could just pay cash and buy whatever you want.
It most definitely wouldn't, that technology would not be used to enforce the law against illegal immigrants. That just wouldn't happen. There's no will to use it for that purpose. Therefore, it's not going to happen.
Once Trump wins,
it's going to be used to oppress the people who are born here for sure, not to remove people who came in here illegally.
I do agree for the most part, but I do feel like this is the cynical American youth view. Like,
oh,
yes, because the government has been against us for so long in our lives. They have given us nothing. They have lied to us. They have spit on us. They have started wars. The assumption of the younger generations is it's an evil machine that can only do wrong. But then you get Cash and Dan in the FBI. And I'm like, this is different. So the issue largely is civil libertarians will say, don't empower the government because then the bad guys come in and they'll use those powers against you. And the good guys tend not to. However, I don't have a big problem with people I know and trust wielding power. If there's a very good person and they wield tremendous power, but they only act with honor and integrity, then we're not really concerned. The concern is when corrupt people come into office. And so what I think we have right now is the reason why we are cynical on all of these issues of data collection is because government is corrupt. Just is. Like the scenario where Cash and Dan become like the permanent FBI is zero. It's just zero. So for now, it may feel good. And this is the opportunity for the government to expand because, people in our position are going to say, I want the DHS to go after these illegal immigrants. So you know what? If it gets rid of 20 million illegal immigrants, I'm okay with the biometrics and all this stuff. The problem is, just because, I don't know, like Kristi Noem might be a good person doesn't mean the next person coming in is going to be good.
It's the same
thing. Get a Mayorkas or something.
It's the same thing with FISA, right? They used the FISA warrants and the FISA surveillance to go after terrorists after 9/11. Then it was weaponized against the Trump campaign, which I was part of. I was spied on via FISA, which is designated for terrorists and these kind of insane, operations, and the president himself. So like you said, if it's in the hands of the good people, it won't be weaponized. If it's in the hands of the bad people, it will be weaponized. So we can't really take that chance. And I think that's what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, look, it doesn't, just because we can't, the four of us sitting around the table can't think of a specific thing that would be used, our biometrics could be used to, used and corruptly used against us, doesn't mean that, there aren't 1,000 things that are possible that we can't come up with sitting right here on the spot, No,
the reason I ask is I'm wondering if you guys have really thought about it. I've had a lot of conversations recently, and I feel like most people haven't actually thought about it, but they do know that it's bad. And it's a good thing because we want the popular viewpoint to be like, we shouldn't tolerate these things. I can think of a bunch of really bad things. Namely, like we mentioned, you go to a grocery store and you're walking up and they've got all your information stored, social credit system, and you can't buy food anymore.
Yeah.
They ban you from food. They ban you from Ubers. Like, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Taxi cab. Normally, what do? You hold your hand up, cab pulls over, you get in, you say, here's where I'm going, you hand him cash, clean. He didn't know who you are, we're good. Uber starts taking over, cabs are failing. Laura Loomer was banned from Uber.
Yeah.
What would happen if Uber dominated the taxi service and auto cars? You go on the app, you're banned. We know everything about you. We know everything you've said. We know where you are at all times. And now you're not. We can excise you from society.
It's one of the most common arguments against a central bank digital currency. Is they can literally just turn your money off, right? Like that's something that even though nowadays they can cancel your credit cards and shut all that stuff off. If you have cash, which people that some people still work with cash. But you can still survive if you have cash. You can get around. You can buy things. It's not common, but it's common enough where most businesses still have a cash register that has money for change in it. But if you were to go with a central bank digital currency and get rid of cash totally, then you're at the mercy of the government entirely for just to be able to survive.
I don't think there's anything stopping it.
What?
I think
CBDC?
All of it. All of it. I don't think most people realize. I think probably most people who watch this show have a general understanding, but most people in the world do not understand what AI is going to do to humanity.
Agree.
It's the singularity, as it's described, the point at which artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence. It's an exponential growth curve where within a matter of days, the AI becomes something beyond our comprehension. And we become ants to it, if single-celled organisms relative to it. It's going to be able to predict the future, map the past perfectly. It's going to, so I was at a museum. That museum was a rock store, but they had fossils and stuff. And there was a rock, a cube, that was cut specifically showing the layers of sediment. A sufficient AI will be able to tell you exactly where that rock was cut from, where it came from, and map out the history, because it's all it's like a game of Sudoku, where when you get far enough in it, you can just start filling in the numbers. That's what AI does. The faster it develops, the faster it'll just start filling in all the numbers and solve all of these technological hurdles and erase everything we think we know in society. It's going to be nightmarish. Do you guys know that China already has what they're calling dark factories? There's no lights. There's no light. You walk inside, it's pitch black, and the machines are all operating because the machines don't need visible spectrum wavelength. They operate on sonar or just general math. They're just programmed to move this many degrees, and they're manufacturing things in pitch black.
And it's not just the factory jobs either. The AI is taking over even professional jobs, white-collar jobs. How many of these jobs are going to be redundant now, from paralegals to potentially even doctors?
Yeah, there are AI algorithms that run the entire stock market now and make trades on the millisecond.
They already have robots that do microsurgery.
Yep.
Exactly. AI, human goes in the machine just, the craziest thing. I mean, some of this is cool, I gotta say, that with sufficient AI technology, they can take your blood and then basically almost show you your lifespan. It'll tell you if you're in 7 years, 3 months, 4 days, you will develop lymphoma in this part of your body based on the current, makeup of your blood. It can craft bespoke medication. A machine will combine various chemicals, create pills, spit them out, and say, this is specifically for you, and if you take these, you will de-age. It will cure your aging. Just ridiculous, insane things that they'll be able to do.
How's Big Pharma going to profit off of that?
Well, I suppose the bigger question is, it's a good question, but that question...
you have to keep taking it.
No. It's no one will profit off of anything. Profit won't exist. This is the collapse of humanity. The system breaks down immediately. Most people are going to plug their brains in a weird mishmash matrix nonsense. I have no idea how to predict an economic system when with ChatGPT, we're already eliminating tens of thousands of jobs every day. With Suno, the AI music, we are eliminating tens of thousands of jobs every single day.
that just means there's going to be a premium put on human-made and live entertainment.
I'm not so sure about that.
Because the AI will be better than human. So they've done this already for about 20 years with music. And I'm Phil, I'm wondering if you've ever experienced this, where they've actually been able to map out the algorithm of music.
Yeah.
This is not AI doing this. 20 years ago, 15 years ago, human sound engineers were just taking all of the top 40s from the past, 80 years or whatever, and then they put them in computers and then tracked the pitch changes, the tempos, and were able to produce a formula for a hit.
Yeah.
What do humans like in music and why?
Look, most songs have the same intervals. They're, like 1, 3, 5 chords on, and it doesn't matter what key it's in. It's your root, your third, your fifth, and that's a chord progression. And that's why you hear people that have there's that comedy troupe that do the 4-chord song. It's not, they're not actually even, I don't know for sure that all the songs are actually in the same key.
They're not.
But the intervals are the same. And so they can play the same chords and sing 1,000 different songs over the same chord progression.
Well, I think you're saying that it's better in meaning that it's optimized. And what I mean that by a premium put on live entertainment and human-made entertainment, I mean it in the same way as fashion or Michelin star restaurants.
Did you know that Katy, I may be wrong about this, but I heard Katy Perry can't sell her latest tour. It's flopping.
I don't know.
Well, that's probably because ticket prices have inflated by a lot.
There's a lot of
So
inflation.
So there's that. I'm sure you know more about
So
that
here-
type of
so-
thing than I
so-
do.
There is inflation.
Look, there's two things that are happening,
And
particularly in media.
scalpers and all that.
The cost of producing a show like this is going down, but the viewership for most media is going down as well. It's decentralizing. So we're falling down into a space where most shows are going to be dude in room with friend. And it's going to be kind of a hobby. With AI, we're a year away from being able to type in, maybe 2 years, but I think probably a year, typing into an AI generator, make me an episode of Timcast IRL based on the latest news, and make the guest Donald Trump. And it will render the whole thing.
Like a hologram kind of situation?
No, just like a video. I'll make a video online.
And you don't think some people will at least have the perception that there's more value in watching a real conversation?
Sure, they will. The only problem is,
And they'll pay for it?
no, they won't. First of all, there's already individuals that are making AI content that people don't know is AI content.
It's all over X.
But no, what I'm telling you is, I've met with people who have explicitly stated, I have spoken my voice into an AI and scanned my body 3D so that they can AI generate news videos of me doing my job, and it's not really me.
Tell us who it is.
I can't.
I want to know.
Yeah.
I'm dying to know who's doing it.
It's prominent, wealthy individuals in media.
Wow.
I don't know if they've released the content yet, but they've explicitly stated to me
It's in the testing stages.
they're building. So the technology already exists. All they have to do is, I got to be honest, this was like a year ago. They were telling me this. Configure the system to represent them. So literally, they've taken my voice. They give this. It's a guy. Give him words to say. He reads a couple paragraphs. I think it might be a few pages, because there's things like intonation that a person might say in different ways. And then they do. You stand in a room, and they have cameras in every area, and you stand still, and it takes a picture of every direction. And then once they have that, they can literally just put it into the AI. They can load a news story and then set a time limit, say 10-minute video, enter. And it will render a video where the dude's going, the story right now coming from the New York Times is that, and you can't tell. I don't think people get it. I keep hearing from people, they're like, yeah, but people are going to want human-made stuff. I'm like, you are not going to know the difference. And when you put up this production, this studio, which this place costs millions of dollars to operate, with all the staff and the electricity, the contractors, the camera equipment, the internet's super expensive, like uploading to millions of people. When you combine all those costs and then tell me I have to compete with some middle-aged guy who opened up a computer app and pressed news podcast enter and then upload it to YouTube, impossible.
Well, at the very least, that means there would still be a premium on live flesh and blood entertainment.
Perhaps.
Which can't be.
But Gen Z doesn't go outside anymore, and they don't go anywhere anymore. It's true.
That's a separate issue.
But if they don't go anywhere and do anything, and if they're broke and they can't afford to live, they're not going to spend money on anything.
And tickets cost money. Those live performances are going to run you about $50 to $100. A lot of people don't have that, especially younger people don't want to spend that kind of money.
Live events will be reserved for the ultra wealthy elite.
I don't think there will be live performances. But
I don't think the hunger for that is something that can be excised from the human person. I just don't believe that's possible.
We had newspapers, and everybody would go to the store in the morning, and they'd grab their coffee and grab a newspaper, put it under their arm, sit on the bus or the train, and then read the newspaper on their way to work. That's how they got their news. Then TV came around, or radio, I should say. Then TV. Then people were turning the TV on at work or turning it at home, and they'd get their news. Then they'd go to work. They didn't really know things except at key intervals. We got the internet. And I remember in the early 2000s, the internet was when I was at home. That was it. So I'd go out, I'd go skate, I'd go to work, then I'd get home and I'd go on the internet for about an hour and learn about stuff, but then I'd disconnect. This was mid-2000s. Then we got the iPhone. And with capacitive touch, instantly overnight, within like a year, the internet was ubiquitous. Everything changed. Media consumption just changed dramatically overnight. When AI rolls out the ability to make like we've already covered this the other day with these YouTube videos that are AI generated creepo slop. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you try to make an AI video of Nancy Pelosi. That's the example I give because it's on my Instagram, and she looks like a Picasso. Today, you make an AI photo of Nancy Pelosi, and it looks like a real photo. It's indistinguishable. Now we're moving on to video, which is getting to that point. It's not yet there. A year from now, short videos will be indistinguishable. And a year from then, long form videos will be indistinguishable. And then a year probably from then, full movies, even AI rendering video games themselves. We're already at the phase where Grok, so this was a viral video. Someone went to Grok and they said, make me a game of program Snake. And it wrote the code out for Snake. And then someone was like, here's the code. And they executed it and they played Snake. That's level 1. That's Model T. In a couple years, they're going to say, give me GTA 12 or make me a Grand Theft Auto game that takes place in Japan. And it'll make the game for you. It's easy to say, no, people want that live performance. And that's exactly what Homeboy said in the 90s. I can't remember who it was. They said the internet will be a blip.
Oh, God.
Yeah, do you remember who that was? A famous quote?
Well, there was the Nobel Prize winner that said the internet would go the way of the fax machine, I think is what he said.
It wasn't Schiff. Robert Metcalf. Yes, Robert Metcalf, the inventor of Ethernet, said the internet will soon go spectacularly supernova and in 1996 catastrophically collapse. Of course, he was wrong.
It didn't work out.
What did Al Gore have to say about this, the so-called inventor of the...
Indeed. I'm just saying, I think if you went back to when the internet was emergent and then told CNN, the internet will take over your industry and you'll be jobless, they'd go, oh, please. What is everyone going to buy a computer for their house? Like barely anybody owns a computer. Why would they want to buy it anyway? It's a professional machine. No, people want to eat dinner with their families, turn the TV on in the background and hear the news, and that's us.
And that was just 20 years ago.
Yep. And then the funny thing is, Steve Jobs, when asked about the iPhone, it was a new product, and I believe his quote was, how can people know that they want it if they've never seen it? So the idea was, people were saying, why make a phone like this? Nobody's trying to buy one. Nobody wants one. He says, if I make it, they'll buy it. How can they know that they want it if they can't even see it? And then they made the iPhone.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, Ford said the same thing with the Model T. You know, when people were in buggies and horses, you know, it was like, I will create the market and you will buy it.
Yeah.
And they didn't need it.
I think I hear this over and over and over again from people when they're like, nah, human music is always going to be better. Wrong. It's just not true. It's already largely algorithmically driven, and people just don't seem to realize this, that when you go to like a pop producer, they're not sitting there and just thinking like, I got an idea for a melody. They're going like, what's the tried and true interval and method, like Phil was describing with the 4 chord song. Mm-hmm. All these songs use this like similar time signatures, stamps, and chord progressions. with various vocal melodies. And there was a really great video that talked about the O We O. I don't know if you saw this one, Phil. And I say this because it's your industry, but someone made a compilation of all of the millennial folk dirtbag songs where everyone go, oh, we, oh.
Yeah.
In every song.
Yep.
Because they were like, we have tracked this algorithmically and we know these songs are hitting right now with this generation. Make 70 of these songs.
Every single All That Remains hit song, right? All the songs that we, except for one. All the hit songs that we have, all the songs that have gold or platinum records, they all have the same chord progression. Even though they're tuned differently, they have the same interval progression in the chorus.
I'm gonna read. You're kind of equivocating between calling something better and something that's optimized. Better is, in my mind, better it means something a little deeper than just
better is
what will be purchased.
Better is too subjective for to be useful in this. Some
people like to go antiquing. It can be fun, but it's not practical, and it's not a practical industry. So when I would say now, most bands, they probably I don't know, make like not most bands, but I would say like most working bands are probably making like a middle class living of that. Would you think, Phil?
Pardon me?
Like most like signed like successful bands, they're probably making like a middle class living.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a successful band nowadays, it's really like the streaming has hollowed out the music industry. Either you're struggling or you're huge. There's not a lot of middle ground anymore.
Now, how do you, Phil, compete with someone who can AI generate 7,000 songs in 1 week?
Yeah,
what's your plan?
It boils down to touring.
In person,
yeah.
like we were talking
and
about.
Performance live.
So your career is doomed.
Well, I mean, for when All That Remains got started, like it was always about touring and always about live performance. There was never really. We got started. All That Remains. So the record that put us on the map, called The Fall of Ideals, came out in 2006. That is the exact same year that Spotify was created. So like we literally were watching the last helicopter leave Saigon,
and
from,
And I want to stress this too. Phil's career is not doomed. Phil had his career at the peak of like when he was able to do all of these things.
Yeah.
And what's happening now is the younger generation won't have that opportunity.
Yeah, there's it's so hard to break in nowadays. The only band that I can think of that has done anything remotely fresh or new lately is Sleep Token.
Let me do this. I do want to get back to the news, but I want to read one super chat because the SIG piece said, Tim, I disagree. As someone who has worked as a touring engineer for 20 years, good luck matching the energy of a crowd that's louder than my PA. Back me up, Phil. Here's what I'm going to say. I've already been to house shows, and I'm sure most of you have. I've already seen DJs who are literally not DJing anymore. To them, DJ means I have a playlist of MP3s, and then I just switch between them. They're pre-made songs. I have seen people do shows to 1,000 people where they're pretending to press buttons. Why actually do the work? The song's pre-programmed. And I will also add one last thought to that. No one is selling stadiums and live shows the way they used to 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Metallica to what, like 1 million people?
Yeah, I mean,
Whatever.
so you've got a handful of bands that can play arenas nowadays, like Metallica obviously can play stadiums. And then any other bands that are rock bands that are playing stadiums, if they're still playing stadiums, they're bands like AC/DC. I think they might do that, but most of them will be playing civic centers or smaller. And there are only, I mean, like Falling in Reverse, Sleep Token. I can't think of any
rock
other bands off the top of my head that are playing.
Even Taylor Swift struggles to reach the level of Metallica. Like Taylor Swift's biggest shows were Metallica's average shows. And then Metallica had several shows with hundreds of thousands to 1 million people, whatever, that famous, what was it, in Germany or whatever?
I think it was
Metallica's
in
million.
Russia.
That was in Russia.
Russia.
Yeah, it was Russia, yeah.
That stuff just doesn't happen anymore. So not that it'll be overnight, but once the AI singularity occurs, it is, I'm going to say it again. Nobody, not even the people building it, and they've all stated this, nobody has any idea what happens. We're talking about a computer that will be able to invent things by request. We're talking about someone pulling up GPT-12 and saying, design me a jetpack and then make it. And then the robots and the fabricators will start pulling things together, and it'll make a functional jetpack. And it'll just invent it for you. You'll say, we want a cold fusion generator. And it'll say, here's the schematics for a cold fusion generator. And then it'll say, okay, build it for me. And then it'll do it. We're like well beyond all that stuff. We're talking about telling the computer, create a chip that can read write into a human brain. And it will just go, okay. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.